Honor just dropped the 600 Pro and the highlight spec is this 8000 nit display. Now to put that into some context, most flagships will probably be about 2,500 to 3,000 nits. Most OLED TVs won't even achieve that number, but this phone has so much more going for it at this sub flagship level cost, including a 200 megapixel main camera, a flagship CPU, and Google Veo 2. But the question is the Honor 600 Pro worth it? Let's find out. The 600 Pro is built to feel premium, but at a sub-flagship level cost. In fact, in terms of its build, it's not that far off the Magic 8 Pro. Here, you do get a glass back and a metal frame, and it's a flat front display as well. And of course, it comes in just two colors, black and white. No orange here on the Pro, that's only on the 600. If you focus primarily on the rear, there is an air of familiarity, let's just say, with another brand's key product, but this phone has a lot more going for it, especially durability, because this has IP69K dust and water resistant on top, which means essentially you can immerse this in boiling hot water and it'll come out and work absolutely fine, even when that display is soaking wet, which shows you that this sub flagship phone has premium features that no one has at this price point. And let's deep dive a little bit more into that 8000 nit display. It's a 6.57 inch AMOLED, as you'd expect, and even at the peak brightness is where you can see the benefit of those 8000 nits, and you can even use something called sunshine mode, which effectively will boost it to that top end level. So using this indoors or outdoors, you're going to get a super crisp, vibrant display, and it's not going to be washed out even in direct sunlight. The detail, if you're watching any content on here, is crisp, clean, and not washed out at all, even at that top brightness. Then of course you still get all the great benefits of Honor's eye care system as well, which here will reduce things like eye strain and eye fatigue, and is fully adaptable as well. So if you're someone who gets motion sickness through watching a lot of content, you can leave that on and it will adapt to your needs and monitor, so essentially reduces eye strain and the possibility of things like headaches as well. As you'd expect, the Honor 600 Pro does ship with Android 16 and MagicOS 10. One huge win is 6 OS updates promised here. So this will run you till 2032. Yes, touch wood, still around. Anyway, moving on past that, the use of the OS is very fast and smooth. It actually operates exactly like the flagship models. You would barely know that this doesn't have the most up-to-date flagship CPU. It runs very fast. So opening and closing apps, moving in between windows, multi-window, all of that works really, really smoothly, and there have been no issues with things like crashes or overheating at all in our experience. One thing to note on here that we've never touched on, and that is Honor's cross-compatibility with other devices. So day to day, we daily drive a MacBook Pro, and using Honor Connect on here and then linking it to a MacBook means you can use things like screen mirror, and then you could see your entire phone. You can leave it dormant sat next to you, and you can use the entirety of the phone as normal, but also you can drag and drop files here super quick from the Honor 600 Pro onto your MacBook or even your Windows device, which is really, really sick in terms of cross-platform connectivity. One thing we want to quickly touch on and address is AI. There is packed full of AI features here on the 600 Pro, but we actually want to touch on that in our comparison video that we're doing shortly on the 600 Pro versus the S26. So make sure you subscribe for that. But one thing I would say is there is nothing lacking here on the 600 Pro, no AI compromise here versus something like the flagship Magic 8 Pro. Then the performance, that Snapdragon 8 Elite powers the 600 Pro. You also get 12 gigabytes of RAM on your base configuration storage here, which is sick, and it runs at that bleeding edge. As someone who daily drives the latest flagship on the latest CPUs, you're not going to notice any difference at all. In fact, it works perfectly, especially if you run this through Geekbench. The single core and multi-core performance clearly shows a top-end CPU. Then let's look at connectivity as a whole. Things like Wi-Fi connectivity, data speeds, and mobile coverage, we've had zero issues, and we get really, really stable, good, excellent data coverage through Wi-Fi and data as well, and there's been no issues at all. Then gaming. If you are gaming on your 600 Pro, you're going to get a super immersive flagship level experience. Great graphics, great graphic fidelity, great FPS as well, and the sound output, well, let us know in the comment section your thoughts on the sound output of the 600 Pro. If you were to compare the evolution of the 600 Pro versus the 400 Pro when you put them side by side, you will see a pretty significant upgrade on the 600 Pro versus last year's 400 Pro, but it's so much more than that because the battery has grown significantly. You now get a 6,400 mAh battery on the 600 Pro. Bit of a shame that's not the 7,000 that came with the one on the China model, but still, it does fit into what I would say is a pretty slim package. Also, on top of that, you benefit from things like 80 watts of wired charging, 50 watts of wireless charging, and even reverse charging at 27 watts, which is pretty mental. So you can charge things like your earbuds off here, no problem at all, and it'll have zero impact on your day-to-day battery life. In fact, in real-world terms, the battery usage here is legitimately multi-day because we test this by gaming on ZZZ. Took over 100 photos combined with videos as well, and it barely made a dent. In fact, at 90% power consumption, remaining battery, sorry, you'll still get over 20 hours of usage on here, which for most people will probably extend into 2+ days of usage. And to further emphasize the great battery life, 3D Mark Lifestyle Extreme Test run here, 20 cycles, very strenuous testing here, and it barely lost 10% battery, which again shows even under heavy load it can manage its thermals reasonably well, but that battery is a game changer. On the rear, you get a triple camera setup inside of that plateau, and it's made up of a 200 megapixel main, 50 megapixel 3.5x telephoto, 12 megapixel ultrawide, and on the front you get another 50 megapixel front facing camera. And let's break all those down and give you an idea as to what the performance is like on the 600 Pro. Now that main lens is actually the exact same one found on the Magic 8 Pro, so flagship level performance here. So you're going to get crisp and detailed images here with excellent dynamic range. Sharpness is nice and balanced here as well, and although processing is bright, it doesn't overly saturate images and make them look overly contrasty. Even at 2x zoom, you retain that exact same detail, and again, no noise, excellent color retention, and is well maintained throughout. Images here are not flat, nor are they natural looking. They're kind of the in-between of both. The nighttime images here really do stand out again, and the retention with the same level of detail as the main lens with no noise and vibrant balance in colors also comes across really well. Then the telephoto again retains much of the processing of the main lens. You get here well-detailed images with sharpness on point with no AI processing creating weird cartoony looking images. Even if you zoom up to 10x, you still retain a lot of that real life to look, which is what you want. If you go beyond that, that's where the AI processing kicks in. Then the ultra-wide, 12 megapixel, solid overall performer here, does a good enough job capturing the right balance of vibrancy and detail, but as it's a low pixel sensor, it does have some warping around the edges and does lack that overly sharp detail. All in all, it's pretty decent. Telephoto and main are the main things here. The front-facing center, 50 megapixel, is nicely detailed again. Does a really good job of capturing the light level details and really good job in terms of skin tones. On the 4K video front with OIS, looks really good. Very stable, excellent color retention, good dynamic range as well, and the front-facing sensor for the videos also does a really good job. Personally, it's not the best in terms of video, but it still does a very good job. Continuing the camera theme, on the frame here alongside the power and volume key, you actually get a AI button which can work also as a capture button for your photos and videos. But what's really cool here, it's fully customizable. So you can switch this to something like Google Lens, and then that will allow you to quickly scan a document, search an image, or even translate text in real world terms, and it works perfectly. But also in terms of the image generation, you get a really cool feature called Google Veo 2. So what this does, it will take a normal image and then you can prompt it and you can convert it into video. Now that works really well. In fact, it does take a little time of processing, but it does work very well and very impressive. And you do get a trial here. It's not full access to the Google Veo 2 function. There is a trial, so I would recommend wherever you're buying it from, take a look at the nitty-gritty and make sure you understand what you're getting, but you will get a few trial goes here. Give it a whack because it's super impressive. And I gotta say, versus last year's Google implementation, something very similar, the evolution to be able to use text to create that prompt makes it more immersive and a lot more fun as well. So is the Honor 600 Pro worth that $899 RRP? We have to factor in one key thing. That price has taken a significant jump versus last year's 400 Pro, but with the current climate, with chip manufacturing and memory costs going so far up, I think it's not that bad a price point. But I think launch offers do mean that you will get this cheaper than that $899 price point, of course, as of making this video. But there's a lot here to justify that price tag. Things like that flagship level CPU, massive battery, great cameras, and obviously long-term OS support. And this does offer a very compelling package. Even if you compare to something like an iPhone 17, S26, S26 Plus, this legitimately does things that those phones are not capable of doing. Things like battery life, 3.5x telephoto, rapid recharging, all those things those phones are not going to do. But we want you to let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on the Honor 600 Pro at that $899 price tag. Is it make or break? And be sure to keep an eye out on the channel for a comp versus the S26 and the Honor 600 Pro. Thank you so much for watching. Until the next one, as always, we out.